other than Dr. Umar. But I definitely support to a certain extent, right? Love, bro. What are you trying to do? Well, actually, what do you think about?
Let's not get into that.
I swear to God, things ain't gon' change.
All right, welcome back to the Kings of Spades. I'm Mace, and we got
Quincy Blair in the building.
All right, so we do a quick little interview, right? He's a soon-to-be, educator.
Yes, sir.
Right? And I don't know if you want to, tell them a little about yourself.
Born and raised in Harlem, New York. Attended Lycoming College for a little bit. Transferred over to City College. And right now, finishing my degree in psychology with my ed certifications for primary and secondary school.
Who say you have to be big in school? So, we're going to get right into it, right? So, I got some questions here. So, you're black, right? You're living in America right now. Yeah. So, how would you say your experience has been as a, black male in America, knowing, the history of the country, knowing the history of the people around the world, the history of your ancestors? Do you feel any type of animosity towards them?
Nah. I'm not gonna say I have animosity. Now, would there be a small level of disdain for my lighter counterparts? Yes, but by good faith and goodwill, we all have the opportunities to kind of showcase our talents and showcase what levels we're supposed to be on. So I may have started behind some of my counterparts, but I've always worked hard to strive for greatness and kind of redeem where I'm leveled at. But my black experience is just as a black man, sometimes I'm thought of as being dumb because I'm just a big athletic dude. When in reality, I'm a scholar. I focus most of my life on just academics and education. And into the fact that just in the educational realm, we're not known as the educators. We're known as the very rambunctious ones who just kind of disturb the classroom environment. I want to showcase that education is the most important factor of life. Forget of just the world, of life. To live is to be educated.
Yeah, I know it's very difficult. A lot of people get crazy. They got all that built up. The more you learn, the angrier it seems you get.
True.
And I know it's sometimes hard to separate that between your professional and what you want to do for your life and your own personal, that. So, it takes a lot of strength to be able to, do that.
And just make sure you have logic in it. Don't go into reading an article and just focusing on the headlines. Actually analyze the article and inform your own opinions based off that. If your opinions go with the masses, then you've done the correct work, and if it doesn't, same way you've done the correct work, you felt comfortable in your decision and your answers.
Absolutely. I always say, do your research.
Do your own research.
Right? So being in the school environment, I wanted to get into there. What are your thoughts on the fact that Rockefeller, right? He always say that he kind of paved the road for this the kid, the school system that teaches our kids, and they equate his funding and his hands-on with it to making this nation into a nation of workers, right? Instead of innovators, right? Like himself, he wants worker hands, right? And that's been the school system has been unchanging from then up until now.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Well, I see education as innovative itself. Education is the principle of finding and discovering. So for it to be kind of used as discovering yourself to be a worker is defeating its purpose. No matter how much money you can give, if the end goal is to create workers to work in factories, we fail. We want to create the doctors, we want to create the engineers, we want to create the mechanics that make the machines that we use every day. We just don't want to make the workers who work on the line and whatnot. So for the goal of his to be to create mindless workers defeats the purpose of what you're funding.
Yeah, I don't know, I haven't experienced much in the school system where it's we're gonna teach you how to own a business, right? We're gonna teach you how to use the system the way how 1% use the system, right? And I always found fault in that. Do you tend to stick with the same routine, or you want to
My goal is to teach unconventional learners. Myself is an unconventional learner. I have dyscalculia, so certain numbers look backwards, and then I'm just not in touch as much. But my life goal is to open a university where unconventional learners kind of have the opportunity to flourish. And hopefully, that education is not just sitting in the classroom with books. It's more or less focused on being in the job force. Like if you're a producer, you're in the studio. If you're a mechanic, you're working with engineers rather than just like learning it from the book. You're actually hands-on learning so that by the end of said goal, by the end of your 4-year journey, you either have a certificate or you have a degree to kind of push on.
Not many people that make a another institution other than Dr. Umar. But I definitely support to a certain extent, right? Love, bro. What are you trying to do? What do you think about? What do you think about?
Let's not get into that.
Alright. So you don't really get to choose. Like in the school stuff, I heard that you don't really get to like choose too much, like what your actual class is gonna be, like
True.
Who's gonna be in there.
True.
So I would say in a class setting where there's Black kids, say Hispanic, Asian, white, right, all from different backgrounds, most being from like American, having American history. Do you still think it's your responsibility to like teach them about Black history, or like not even Black history, but like American history, like the raw, uncut version where the most horrendous things were done to a group of people without filtering out saying, oh, they were just enslaved and that stuff?
So when talking to the youth, it's a responsibility. Like for people that are younger than you, so for my age group, it's my responsibility to take care of 18 below because they need as much guidance as I did when I grew up. And I appreciate all my mentors that kind of got me to the space that I am now, to give back and kind of have these honest conversations with not only my younger brothers, but the younger generations. But yeah, when you work with the youth, it's your responsibility to get them to understand the truth that happens. Like the truth isn't nice. The truth is a dark time. Sometimes it's good, we have good moments, and sometimes we have bad moments. But we just can't erase what happened. Being a Black male, speaking about the destruction of Black Wall Street, slavery, Jim Crow, for Asians, I know what it's called, I just forgot the actual name. But they were in concentration camps too. Same way, like, I'm never going to ignore somebody's history, no matter how dark, no matter how disdained it is. It has to be taught because you don't want to go back to what happened before. You can't make mistakes. You can't fix your mistakes if you don't know what you made. So it's just, no matter how dark it is, no matter how bad it may seem, give it to them. And then give it to them with context where the lesson is learn from your mistakes. Don't repeat these same actions. Don't continue on with the same mentality and values as those who've done wrong in the past. Kind of focus on, you see the negative into it, address it, but take the positive out of it and use it, push it forward. So, but if you guys, as you all get older, you're not responsible to tell another adult, this is your history. If you don't believe it or not, you don't believe it. But best you can do as a responsible civic person in this society is, if you hear a false fact check them, and if they don't believe the fact check, walk away. You can at least say, I played my civic duty and I at least informed you of some honest information.
So like to that point, like what do you say to like the parents who don't want their child to like feel the guilt?
If you don't want to feel the guilt, that means you don't want them to learn. That means you don't want them in school. School is meant to learn everything. Like, to be educated is to learn as much as possible. Even geniuses still strive to learn, even though they have like the highest peak of intelligence. So it's understanding where we at. But if you're trying to ignore and like ban books and ban certain stories, what's the point?
So last question, I know you're a busy man. So saying that you have like, say you have like a white student, right? History all from America, like got the ancestors, Belgium, whatever, right? How would you go about educating him on the struggle of a minority in America?
I don't have a set way of teaching because every scholar picks it up differently. Every scholar has a different way of approaching what they need to know and what type of history is known. And then he may pique an interest somewhere in a different part of history that I may not want to start with, and vice versa. So it's just understanding who am I talking to, who am I addressing, and then from there on, once you get to know the scholar and you get to understand what their point of view and their mindset is in life, that's how you go about teaching it.
Well, one last. So there's like a line that like the board of ed like really doesn't want you to cross when it comes to teaching like certain stuff, like whether it be history, like giving that real thought to a young individual, right? You
gotta keep it PG for the kids sometimes. You gotta keep it, political.
How would you go about that with a kid that's like, you see like he's mentally at that level where he's ready to hear it, but he's still legally under a certain situation where it would be inappropriate.
And that's what the community is for. Like, you're in school about 6 hours a day, probably 8 hours a day, but you still live in the neighborhood. You still live in the community. There are still community figures that you can engage with. You still have your parents around. You still have authoritative figures all around you. Like, you're living by yourself. So, if you're not getting information that you want in school, public libraries, go to Old Head on the Block, he'll tell you the real story. Even there are outer programs, there are college programs, there are programs outside the realm of the board of education that can have those real honest conversations with you. It's just understanding the environment you're at, and then as an educator, if you have those resources to kind of guide that student, that's what you had them to. You had them to resources where they know you're gonna get the best out of them. That's what we commit to, getting the best out of our students.
But a lot of kids aren't going really like, it's hard. Like the kids nowadays, like their mentality is, they're too distracted. You got too many distractions.
Attention span is shot. Technology has killed us. The lack of social engagement has killed us. Coming out of COVID has killed us. But that's what we do as educators. We take that next step forward and pushing back to where we were at. It doesn't take a day, and it probably won't take a year. It probably won't take 10 years. But it will take the commitment of actually progressing ourselves to going back to what we see as a normal society. And right now, we're just too locked into ourselves. We have to start getting back and pouring into our community.
So for all the kids out there, this is the type of mindset you gotta strive for. Like all those distractions that you see on there, like it's not that I say it's not cool. You can't engage in it, but like, that shouldn't be the primary. Like that shouldn't be your identity. There's more to life than what the next Twitch streamer said, right? Or the next new dance. Right? What about the new philosophical idea about life, about how to carry yourselves, right? You always got to question it. But thank you, Quincy. Alright, we have a lot more of these coming up, right? Just look out for it. And again, it's been Kings of Spades, and we'll see you next time.